Hi, and welcome to an introduction to SketchUp Part 3. As you can see on the screen, I've got the Chopsaw Cabinet that we completed in Part 2. So the first thing I want to do is make that into a component and then hide it away so it doesn't detract from today's video, in which we're going to build an MFT table with storage and a compartment for an extractor to sit alongside the Chopsaw cabinet. So we'll call that Chopsaw complete. We'll pop it on the Chopsaw layer that we created, and we'll drop that out the way over there, and we'll turn it off. Fantastic. So we've now got a nice clear drawing pane again. So we're going to build on the skills that we covered in the first two videos. We're going to make slightly less use of the tape measure tool this time and put a little bit more emphasis on efficiency. So I'm going to go straight in with the line tool, and I'm going to be making a lot more use of the axes, and I'll demonstrate what I mean. So I need to draw the base panel of my MFT table first. So I'm going to click and drag back along the green axis and type in my depth of 800, and then from that point click and drag again and type in my width of 115. Then I can just drag down along the green axis back to the red and then complete. Raise my surface by 18mm. I'm going to make this a component because I want to copy it, and I'm going to call this MFT top bottom panel. And I'm also not going to bother moving it out the way. I'm just going to strike a point over here that I can use as a new origin to draw my vertical panels. So I'm going to go back along the green 800, then I'm going to go up along the blue of, let me get my rough sketch, of 670. Then I'm going to come back along the green again 800 and join that up to get my surface 18mm, and we'll make that into a component again. We're just going to call that MFT side panel. And then we can pop them together. One point I'd like to draw your attention to that I haven't mentioned before is placement of the cursor when zooming. So if you put your cursor in the general area of the item that you want to look at closer, then SketchUp will zoom in to that point. But also, interestingly and quite importantly, if you move your cursor to a different part of the drawing and then zoom out, SketchUp zooms out differently as well. It zooms out from the point that you place your cursor on. And getting used to those two approaches will greatly increase your speed of navigating around the screen. What was I doing? I want another MFT side panel, wherever that's to, there, and I want another MFT top panel, there. So I'll pick that one up by the right hand side. So that's the 4 outside panels done. And again, similar to the Chopsaw panel, I want to put a couple of drawers in the top. So I'm going to strike a line 150mm down. And I believe this is 1114. Yeah. So back to the pencil tool, line tool rather. 800, 1114. Give it a bit of depth. And that is MFT under drawer shelf, no, under drawer panel. Stick with the naming convention. And we can pop that in on our mark. I want to grab that by the top end point there. So next I'm going to put a divider in the middle. So I can take my tape measure tool, 114 div 2, and then 9mm across from that to allow for the thickness. I can draw my little divider at 800, 150, 800, 18mm thick. Drawer divider panel. And I want to grab it by that left hand bottom guide point and pop it in there. Like so. Fabulous. Now I've got one more panel I want to put inside, and that's to house off the extractor, which is going to go on this right hand side here. So I want to panel out from that internal panel at 450. Let's put my strike point back. So again, just using the axes, I can go 800. I have omitted to measure that, which is 502. This is MFT extractor side panel. So that's the carcass complete, bar a back panel. Let's just drop a back panel in. So that was 450, that was 502. Let's just draw a quick back panel. Didn't get all of that in then. Extractor back panel. And we'll just spin around and drop that in. And that one. Excellent. So that's our carcass complete. Now we'll draw our drawers. So we're going to use the same approach that we did in part 2 to draw the drawers. And I'm going to start by drawing the face panel, which is 548 by 150 by 548. I'm going to make that 18mm deep. I'm going to zoom around to the back, and I'm going to put a guideline in on each side to represent the width of my drawer runners, which is 12.5, 12.5, whoops, struck the mouse then. I'm going to draw a line up along that guide to make a smaller rectangle. Then push-pull tool and come back 800 minus 18, which is 782. Then I want to finish that line off again, representing the front panel, so I'll draw another line in there. Now we can use the offset tool that we covered in part 2 to draw a rectangle around to represent the 18mm width of the MDF, and then take the push-pull tool. Now before I do that, that was 150, wasn't it? 150 minus 18 is 132. And I've got my drawer. Let's make sure that all looks nice and flat. Yep, our drawer looks good. I'm going to draw in a handle now. So if I draw guide point at 224 and 224 and down 25mm, I can then, following my axes, draw across them. I'm going to go back to my tape measure tool again and give myself another point at 25mm along that line, so that I can use my 2-point arc tool and I can round over the corners for my handle. And with that done, I should now be able to push that out of existence. And I've got my handle. Let's get rid of some of these guidelines, clean it up a bit. Oh, I forgot those two there, I don't want those. And we can make that into a component. Incidentally, there's another point I should raise. If you change from a tool to the move tool and your object is pre-selected, then you're locked into that object. You won't be able to select a different object. But if you choose your move tool with the object unselected, then as you'll see, you'll be able to place the first, and upon placing it the object gets deselected, so you're now free to choose another. Again, makes you a little bit more efficient navigating around. Top drawer, MFT top drawer, there we are. So I want that guide point there, and I want to lock it in to there. So top drawer is complete. Now I can draw the 3 bottom drawers. But first of all, I'd really like SketchUp to tell me sizes. So this aperture is 502 and I want 3 drawers, so 502 div 3 is 167, but I'd like a couple of mil gap between each drawer, so I make the drawer height 165. I'm going to leave that other mark there because I'll set that bottom of the middle drawer to that mark, thereby giving me that little opening between the 2 drawers. And if I do the same on the top, 502 div 3, then once again I've got a mark that I can place my drawer in. So 165 tall and 664 wide. Now I want to put a handle in the middle. So I've got 664 minus 100 mil is 554, which gives me 227. Does everyone agree? Let's see what that looks like. That looks a little wide, doesn't it? Yes, I took off 200. Let's rewind that then. Obviously my math isn't as good as I thought it was. So 664 div 2 332 minus 5282. What do I come up with? 227. Time to go back to school, I think. Listen to the math teacher. So I want to mark it 25mm down. And I can draw that little rectangle. And another mark at 25mm in from each side for my 2-point arc tool. And then we can push that out to nothing. And that's my bottom drawer complete. So I'll componentize it. I don't know if that's a real word. I think it is. MFT bottom drawer. And we'll pop 3 of those into place. Lovely. So apart from putting measurement lines on, the last thing that I'd like to do is to put an MFT table on the top. So we'll whiz back into our 3D warehouse. Search for MFT table. That one looks stupendous. And by the looks of things, we might be resizing it as well. So let's edit the component. That's better. Now we want to spin it around with our rotate tool. And we'll select all of that. Make component MFT table complete. And finally we'll put the two together. So we'll move that out of the way. Now we'll bring the MFT table across. I'll leave a little space in just because of my measurement guides that I've got there. So let's finish our drawing with our measurements. Now you'll notice there's a difference in height between the top of the MFT table and the bed of the chop saw, and that's by design, which will become clear in part 4 when we add in the bandsaw, and we also draw in a CNC table. So many thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up down below, and I hope to see you in part 4.